Greetings. How's everyone doing this morning? Fantastic, I hope. For those who don't know me, my name is Brad Hansen, CalPERS team member and Division Chief of the Employer Account Management Division here at CalPERS. So welcome everybody to our second installment of the SEAC meetings this year, and today is considered our Education Day. So we have a really big audience today. We're going to be covering a wide array of different topics. So let's go ahead and get started. First, I want to go over some housekeeping and some of the rules. The webinar is being recorded and it will be available online after the meeting. All of your mics will be muted, and the materials for this SEAC meeting are all going to be available at the same spot they always are on the CalPERS website. And if you have any follow-up questions or ever have topics for future SEAC meetings, please email us at the address on your screen. So there's a couple different ways to submit questions during the SEAC meeting. One, you can use the QA feature, and that's actually the preferred method. That way we can capture all the questions and share them with everybody at the end. So if you use that QA button down there, you can type your questions, and we have people behind the scenes, subject matter experts that can answer your questions. We also have the raise hand feature, which you can ask questions live. Because we have such a huge agenda today, the preferred method for asking the live questions will be at the end. We should have time at the end to ask live questions, but if you have something that you just absolutely have to ask, then and now, please use the raise hand feature. So here's our agenda for the day. We're going to kick it off by talking about myCalPERS technical support resources. We're going to transition over to Andy Nguyen in our contracts area, and he's going to talk about charter schools and the contracting process. We'll talk about service prior to membership and arrears. We're in a tag team that one, a couple different presenters. And then Ken Noss is going to talk to us about special comp and pensionable compensation. We'll take a quick break. And then we're going to move on to everybody's favorite topic, post-retirement employment. We'll then talk about permanent separations from the system, making sure that people, before they retire, get perm sepped, and some other housekeeping with that as well. Going to cover all the vast options we have for CalPERS employer and a member education resources. And then yours truly will do a quick presentation about myCalPERS system registration campaign that we're doing this year to get more members enrolled in the myCalPERS system. And then last, we'll close it out with a roundtable session where you can ask any questions on what we presented today or anything really you wanted to talk about. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mai, and she's going to talk to you about myCalPERS technical support resources. Go ahead, Mai, take it away.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. My name is Mai King, and I am an analyst with the myCalPERS technical support team. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am excited to walk you through a few topics that may help to support your day-to-day work. And as mentioned before, if you have any questions as we go, feel free to drop them in our Q&A. Our team members are here today to help answer any questions you may have. Next. So during this session, I will be covering 4 topics. First, I will explain what a system access administrator is and show you where to find system access administrator resources. I will share some technical troubleshooting tips to help you resolve common technical issues. I will share some information on our testing environment. And finally, we will explore how to locate and use Cognos reports. Next. So a system access administrator serves as the primary point of contact for an agency, and they are responsible for managing user access. Each agency will typically assign one or more system access administrator, and their role is essential in ensuring that authorized users have the appropriate level of access to perform their daily tasks. Now, some of the key tasks that a system access administrator handle can include assigning usernames and passwords, removing access for users who are on leave or are no longer with the agency. And this helps to ensure that only active staff can access the system and your data. They also assign access roles so that users can perform tasks like payroll reporting and run Cognos reports. So, system access administrators are also responsible for keeping your agency contact information up to date. And that can include things like making sure individual business partner contact names rather than the program area names are listed, and that phone numbers and email addresses and mailing addresses are current. And this helps to ensure that you receive important updates and alerts from CalPERS without delay. And these are just some of the tasks that access administrators oversee. Next. So we have a web page for system access administrators, and this is where you can locate system access administrator resources. This web page contains details and detailed guides and step-by-step instructions in performing all the tasks that were mentioned previously and so much more. So please do go and check out our system access administrator webpage. Next. Our next focus area is on technical troubleshooting. One of the most common issues that employers encounter is related to login and connectivity. So these can usually be resolved with a few simple steps. First, try clearing your browser's caching cookies because it helps your browser to load fresh data and can often resolve session-related issues. Also, make sure you're using an up-to-date browser, as outdated versions may not work properly with myCalPERS. And if you're having trouble with logging in due to a forgotten password, your system access administrator can help you reset it. They have the access that is needed to assist you with this process. And for step-by-step instructions on resetting passwords, you can refer to the myCalPERS System Access Administration Student Guide, and Ish will outline the process for you. So these are just some basic troubleshooting steps that can hopefully help save you some time and help keep your work moving smoothly. Next. Now, did you know that we also have a testing environment set up for your use? And this testing environment is a mirror of our live environment, which is also known as production. This means that it behaves just like the real thing, allowing you to run through processes and test files in a safe space without any impact to your actual data. We refresh the testing environment monthly, so you're working with up-to-date information when testing. So if you are planning to perform tasks like submitting a large adjustment file or uploading enrollment files, the testing environment is an excellent tool to help you identify and troubleshoot any potential issues before moving to production. So it's a great way to ensure that your upload goes smoothly, and it helps you to resolve any upload errors before you upload your file into production. And links to the test environment can be found on our technical resources webpage, which is linked here for you. Next. So when you do visit the technical resources webpage to try and access our test environment, you will notice that there are two test environment links available. So the first link is for users who have access to production and already have an existing account in the test environment. So if you have access to production and you have an existing account in the test environment, then the first link is the link that you would use. The second link is for users who do not have an existing account in the test environment because their account was created after the monthly refresh. Next. So to conclude our topic on the test environment, here's a quick tip to keep in mind. Once you have logged into the test environment, be sure to be on the lookout for a yellow banner at the top of the screen that reads, "This is the file readiness testing environment." This banner serves as an indicator that you are working within the test environment. Next. So our next area of focus is on Cognos reports. We have over 70 Cognos reports available for employers. You can locate a list of the reports that we have available in our Cognos Reports catalog, which we have linked here for you. The catalog has interactive search options to help you identify what report may best meet your needs. You can search for reports in several ways. First, by entering a keyword in the first search box. You can search for reports by filtering for a report type in the second search box, and by filtering based on access roles in the third search box. Next. The catalog also includes a brief description of each report, the report type, and the required user access role to run the report. The Cognos Report Catalog also provides a preview sample report. So this provides an opportunity for users to check if the report includes the data that aligns with their needs before running it. So to view a sample report, simply click on the report's hyperlinked name, and the sample report will generate automatically for you. And so with Cognos reports, you may also have noticed some recent changes to our Cognos reports and how they are accessed. We are currently exploring new platforms for report distribution, and we will be sharing more updates on that in the future. So in the meantime, an alternative method is to access the reports through the team content folder on the left side navigation of the Cognos Reports portal screen. Next. Linked here on this page for you is our myCalPERS Employer Reports Cognos Student Guide. This guide is a great resource if you would like to run your reports in different formats, run your reports in the background, or set a schedule for your reports to run on a recurring basis. So this is a great resource that can walk you through each of the process. But do please note that when you are running your reports in the background, do not change the delivery method to print or email. You may also have noticed that in some of the reports, it includes notes marked with an asterisk. So be sure to review these notes in the reports as they highlight important details and that may impact the report results or provide additional context to the report. So for some Cognos reports, if you are finding that you are unable to access them and the data is maintained by your County Office of Education, it may be that you will need to coordinate with your County Office of Education for access to the report. Now, to conclude our topic on Cognos reports, here's another quick tip to keep in mind. If you are finding that you are needing a more streamlined report, you can create one by exporting a report that already contains the data that you required as an Excel file. The Run Excel Data option allows you to export the report into an Excel spreadsheet. And once you have that spreadsheet, you can filter the data and hide away any unnecessary columns. So this can help to create a more streamlined report that is tailored to your needs. Next. You can contact us, the myCalPERS technical support team, by submitting an inquiry, by emailing our employer technical support inbox, or by contacting our contact center. Next. Should you have any further questions, please submit them at this time in our Q&A. And with that, I will conclude our myCalPERS technical support presentation and pass it on to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thanks, Mai. I just wanted to add to everybody, in case you didn't recognize it, in the chat, we've been adding all the links that we've been presenting on too. So if there's any references to website links or contacts, we've been posting those in the chat as well. Okay, so next up we have Andy, and he's going to talk about charter schools. Andy?
Hi. Thank you, Brad. Good morning. My name is Andy Nguyen, a CalPERS team member. I'm here this morning to present the overall compliance obligations for charter school via the County Office of Education contract with CalPERS. Next slide, please. As we present at the previous SEAC meeting, charter school may participate in CalPERS plans However, they will need to apply for participations. CalPERS will work with the COE and the charter school throughout the contracting process. And once we determine that a charter school is eligible to participate in CalPERS, we will treat the charter school just like any other school district within the county. The charter school will need to comply with all the regulations under the Public Employees Retirement Law for the school districts and the COE. The most important thing that we want to remind the charter school or the COE is the charter school, once they join CalPERS, they have to enroll all the employees to CalPERS. And for those charter schools who has not established a contract with CalPERS, the school district and the COE cannot report them or enroll them to CalPERS under the school district or the COE employee ID. Next slide, please. So for charter schools, there are some of the important reminder for charter schools with regards to the compliance. The charter school cannot just stop reporting employees to CalPERS. Once you join CalPERS, you have to enroll all your employees to CalPERS. The only time that you can stop reporting employees to CalPERS is when the school is dissolved. And just like school district, the charter school need to follow the state laws by adopt the pay schedules in according to the public meeting laws, and they must post those pay schedule online for public viewing. And if the charter school have any other special compensations that were negotiated via the MOU, the MOU must be approved and adopted by the government bodies of the school at the public meeting. So these are the really important keys that we want to remind the COE and the school district that when you work with your charter schools and we enroll your employees to CalPERS and report their payrolls to CalPERS, these are the rules that you need to follow, especially for the charter school. And this next couple of slides is just the appendix. Next slide, please. These appendix to show you the criteria that charter schools is needed to eligible to participate in CalPERS. Next slide. And this is a timeline of how long it would take for us to work with a charter school and the COE to establish a contract with CalPERS. Typically, it could take up to 8 weeks, but we can get it done as soon as 4 weeks if we have all the proper documents. Next slide, please. Here's all the contact information. If you have any questions regarding how to contract with CalPERS for charter school, you can email us at the pensioncontract@calpers.ca.gov. If you already have a charter school who's participating in CalPERS and you have any question about the compensations or MOU, you can email to the MOU email address. They can assist you with that. Or you can also go onto our webpage to download applications if you want to contract with CalPERS. And these are the charter school resources that we have available on our website. Next slide, please. That's conclude my presentations. Do you have any questions?
All right. Well, thanks for that information, Andy.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Okay, moving right along. Next up, we have a duet of Veronica Silva-Gill and Tad Baker. They're going to talk to us today about service prior to membership and arrears. Go ahead and take it away, guys.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tad Baker, and I'm a section leader in our membership account management division. With me is Veronica Silva-Gill. She's section leader in our employer account management division. We also have subject matter experts Jose Ramirez and Yvette Abrams to assist us with questions that may come in the Q&A chat during the presentation. Next slide, please. We're here to discuss the critical role employers play in supporting the integrity and accuracy of CalPERS records. through proper certification of service prior to membership and arrears. Today, we'll explore the topics of what is SPM and why it matters, what arrears are, including how they are triggered and who's responsible, and most importantly, why certifications matter and why they're important for both compliance and employee well-being. Additionally, this was a subject of a recent external audit performed by the Office of Audit Services. And our goal is to equip you as employers with the knowledge and best practices you need to support your staff and protect your agency from the potential risks. Next. We'll begin with SPM, Service Prior to Membership. Next, please. What is SPM? What is Service Prior to Membership? This refers to service an employee performed under a CalPERS covered employer before they officially became a CalPERS member. It could be from a temporary, part-time, or seasonal work. Why is this important? Because under CalPERS rules, members have the opportunity to purchase that time and add it to their retirement service credit, but only if it's certified and completed before they retire. Employers are responsible for certifying this service accurately and promptly to ensure members don't miss this opportunity to purchase. Employers are the gatekeepers to those early employment records. If we don't capture and certify that service accurately and on time, the member will lose that time upon retirement. Next. This is a slide of the SPM process. Members submit service credit purchased through MSS online. The employer will receive that request and certify the employment period in myCalPERS. The employer has 30 days to certify. If expires, the member needs to re-request. CalPERS will review the SPM request for possible arrears. That will go to Employer Account Management Division. And if arrears are determined, notification is sent to employer and the member, and the arrears process begins. If no arrears are determined, SPM process continues, and contributions and service credit are posted to the member's account upon election, and invoices are generated. Next. Now I'll pass it over to Veronica to discuss the arrears.
Thank you, Tad. All right, so first we'll start with what is arrears. So an arrears occurs when an employee who has met CalPERS membership eligibility requirements is not enrolled timely into myCalPERS. And by timely, we need before 90 days. So if they are enrolled on the 90th day or the 91st day, then they are considered late, and an arrears will trigger. There's two types of arrears that our team can determine based on the facts and circumstances that we are provided. So we will either determine that it's a member paid arrears or an employer paid arrears. The arrears cases are triggered by two criteria. First is when an appointment is reported late, or if the member requests service credit purchase, like Todd was mentioning. So some of those cases may come to us, based on the business rules that we have built into myCalPERS. Next slide, please. So first, our team will determine if it's employer paid arrears based on California Government Code 20283. The California Government Code states that when a member is enrolled late into myCalPERS, it's we must assess arrears, and it would be either employer or member paid arrears. The employer will receive an invoice for both the employee and the member and the employer contributions that are due, plus a separate invoice for an admin fee of $500. This cost cannot be changed it's going to be passed on to the member. We can also determine if it's member paid arrears. In this case, it would be based if there's a correction that we discover an error. We most likely would make it member paid arrears. Also, if the late appointment is for a period, all or in part prior to July 1st of 1994, that was prior to the implementation of California Government Code 20283. In this case, the employer will only receive an invoice for their portion of the contribution. So the member would still be responsible for their portion of the contributions that are due. And then also, we also determine member paid arrears when the employer could have not reasonably known that the member should have been enrolled. For example, if you have a member who is working perhaps part-time at your agency and you don't know if they're working in another school district, you cannot reasonably know because, sometimes the employees don't tell you. So in those instances, we may determine member paid arrears. We also highly encourage that you provide all of your employees who do not qualify for immediate CalPERS membership with the notice of exclusion form, which we do have available in our website, to let them know that they're not immediately qualified, and highly also encourage them to let you know of other employment that they might have with other CalPERS cover agencies, so that you can monitor for CalPERS membership. Next slide, please. So again, on the causes of arrears, when an appointment is key and late, myCalPERS is programmed to automatically identify these appointments, and the system will automatically generate the employer paid arrears, and I will go over the steps in the next slide. And another way that the arrears come to our area is when the member requests service credit purchase. So based on all those business rules that we have created in myCalPERS, we will determine whether the arrears should be assessed or not, or a member maybe didn't qualify for membership at that time, and it is truly a service credit purchase that we would then send over to Tad's team, to process. Okay, next slide. So this is a process flow when an employer enters an appointment that is 90 days or more late in myCalPERS. So first, the system will generate a notification to the employer informing you that the appointment was entered late. So the process allows for a 30-day window where the employer can provide our team with additional documentation for us to reconsider whether the appointment was late or not. The employer can also waive that appeal period to expedite the processing of the arrears, or they can wait the full 30 days. So once the appeal period has passed, the employer will then submit the payroll, which will then trigger the invoices that will be sent to the employer for both the member and the employer contributions that are due, and then a separate invoice for the admin fee. The member will also receive a notification that the service credit has been applied to their account at no cost. Now, Tad will provide you with some best practices when completing the employment certification.
Thank you, Veronica. Next slide, please. Now we'll talk about two key factors in the certification: accuracy and timeliness. Accuracy ensures employees receive proper service credit for their service. It prevents errors in retirement benefit calculations and reduces risks of audit findings. Errors can lead to wrong benefit calculations or even eligibility for retirement. It is important to correctly identify dates, job classifications, and earnings for each employee. Timeliness is just as important. It avoids delays in processing employee benefits, helps employees make informed decisions about their retirement, ensures compliance with the Public Employees Retirement Law, or the PERL. Both accuracy and timeliness also ensure compliance with the PERL. So we're not just talking about best practices, we're also talking about legal requirements. Consequences of inaccurate or delayed certifications. For employees, a loss of service credit could reduce their retirement income or delay their eligibility for retirement altogether. Unresolved membership dates or arrears determinations can be confusing, stressful, and financially risky for the employee. If they miss the window to purchase the time early, they could end up paying more or losing the option entirely. From the employer's perspective, You could face financial liabilities if audits uncover missed or incorrect certifications. Fixing mistakes after the fact often means redoing payroll records, submitting corrections to CalPERS, and handling employee complaints. All of this drains time and resources from your teams. So whether it's delayed reporting, bad record keeping, or staff turnover, the bottom line is small mistakes can lead to big headaches down the line. Next. So for employer responsibilities, we can talk about some best practices to avoid some of those issues. Accurately verify and certify employee service records, identify and report membership promptly, collaborate with CalPERS to provide records upon request. Some of the best practices, maintain detailed employment records. This includes hire dates, job classifications, and hours worked. The more complete your records, the easier it will be to respond to requests. Promote early purchasing of service credit, encouraging employees to ask questions early before retirement is even on their radar. This will give you time to certify, and it helps them save money. Train your HR and payroll teams on CalPERS certification requirements. If the knowledge stays with one person and they leave, we're all left vulnerable. And finally, implement internal checks for accuracy. Periodic reviews of your reported service data can catch errors before they become normal findings. A common question has been, what do we do in the case that an employer doesn't have records requested? We don't want there to be a fabrication of records. As the employer is certifying that the information is accurate. So it's best to work with the member to determine if they have any records that may assist with the certification of those payroll records. Next. To wrap up and conclude, the employer plays a pivotal role in the accuracy of CalPERS member records. Whether they're certifying SPM, responding to arrears, or simply maintaining clean data, what you do shapes an employee's retirement outcome. By embracing the accuracy, timeliness, and strong internal practices, you're helping to ensure that employers get the service they deserve, your agency avoids costly compliance issues, and everyone is prepared for the future. Next. We also have some resources for further reading or support, and these can help support your compliance efforts. Next. And I believe we'll be holding the live questions till the end of the presentation. But if you have questions in the Q&A, we will work to answer them. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you both. Okay, moving right along. Now we have Kenneth Noss, and he's going to talk to us today about special and pensionable compensation. Ken, take it away.
Thanks, Brad. I appreciate that. I think most of you probably know who I am, but my name's Kenneth. Please call me Ken Noss. I am the Staff Services Manager 2 over the Audit Compliance and Resolution section in the Employer Account Management Division. We have 2 units that are under me, and really what we concentrate on is compensation compliance. And I also have my 2 Manager 1s that are over the 2 Audit Compliance and Resolution units, Serena Southers and Truck Wynn. They are in the Q&A chat. So if you have some questions during the presentation and you want to fire them off, they'll be there to answer your questions for you. And again, you'll be able to answer questions during the Q&A portion of this presentation. So we're going to talk special and pensionable compensation. A lot of people say, well, what's the difference? I thought everything outside of pay rate was special compensation. And that's how it's commonly referred, but special compensation is specific to classic members. Pensionable compensation is specific to PEPR members. This tends to provide a decent amount of confusion with our employers and our members. And the purpose of this presentation is to explain some of the government codes and regulations that dictate or define special compensation for Classic members, pensionable compensation for PEPRA members. And then we're going to try to kind of tie it all together and show you how really the requirements are the same for both. There's just a couple exclusions on items for PEPRA members with pensionable compensation. Next slide, please. All right, so let's talk about exciting government codes and regulations. This is a flow chart that we came up with that gives like a beginning to end of special and pensionable compensation. So for Classic members, compensation earnable is defined in Government Code 20636A and then 20636.1A. 20636.1 is the one that you guys probably work with the most. It's for your classified, it's specific for your classified school members. For PEPRA members, pensionable compensation is defined in Government Code 7522.34 and California Code of Regulations 571.1. From there, you actually go on for Classic members where you define special compensation. And we're going to get a little bit more into that, but that's in Government Code 20636.1C for your classified school members. And then you go to California Code of Regulations 571.1B for pensionable compensation or compensation outside of pay rates for PEPRA members. And then CCR 571A, special compensation items for Classic members. I know all of this sounds confusing. We're going to tie it together and we're going to show you that it's not. You don't need to worry so much about, okay, what are the government codes? What are the regulations? How do I figure this out? What are the differences? Our goal here is to provide a little bit more clarification, but we got to get through the boring part first. Next slide, please. All right. Classic member special compensation. Again, we went over this a little bit in the previous slide. It's 20636.1C for classified school members. For anybody that you have that's not a classified school member, it's going to be Government Code 20636C. For the purpose of this presentation, I'm mostly going to concentrate on your classified school members. And special compensation is payment for skills, knowledge, abilities, work assignments, work days or hours or other work conditions. Again, it's outside of your pay rate. It has to be available to all employees in the same group or class. One person is not a group or class. Now we're gonna, next slide, please. Now you have that defined in Government Code 20636.1C. So then you move on to California Code of Regulations 571.1. Your regulations are specifically created to help clarify your statutes, which are your government codes. So CCR 571 has a list of 104 items of special compensation. So that's 104 items of compensation outside of pay rates that can be reported as special compensation to CalPERS. They're broken out into 5 categories. So the 104 items all fit into 5 categories, and the categories are incentive, educational, premium, special assignment, pays, and then statutory items. They're all specifically and exclusively defined. So what does that mean? It means that there are specific definitions for all 104 of those items, okay? If you have a compensation item and it fits the definition that's in the Public Employees Retirement Law in California Code of Regulations 571, it could be reportable as special compensation to CalPERS for pension calculation purposes. You have to be very careful with definitions. It has to fit that definition that's in CCR 571 for it to be reportable as special compensation. Next slide, please. So requirements for special compensation. This is all broken out in California Code of Regulations 571B. And this is where we're going to start to show you the tie-in between the Classic and the PEPRA members. So it has to be contained in a written labor policy or agreement. For most school employers, that's going to be your memorandum of understanding, your MOU, or your collective bargaining agreement. Individual contracts for singular people or a group of class of one would not be considered a written labor policy because it's for a group of class of one. So again, that goes into it's available to all members in the group or class. It must be part of normally required duties. It's performed during normal hours of employment. It's paid periodically as earned. Next slide, please, as we move on to through the requirements. It has to be historically consistent. It's not paid exclusively in the final compensation period. It's not final settlement pay. Final settlement pay is specifically defined in California Code of Regulations 570, and then does not create an unfunded liability. The last part, the does not create an unfunded liability, you don't see that too much, just because if you meet the requirements, it's available to everybody in the group or class. If it's a definition in California Code of Regulations 571, it's consistent with the statutes and regulations that govern over special compensation. It's not going to create an unfunded liability. Next slide, please. All right, so now we're going to get into the PEPRA member portion. Again, you're going to see correlation here and tie-in. You're also going to see a little bit of difference, and I'm going to explain that in greater detail as we move through here. So for PEPRA members, pensionable compensation is defined in California Code of Regulations 571.1 in both A and B. It's for compensation outside of pay rates, okay? Because CCR 571.1A defines pensionable compensation, and you'll notice that it has requirements for what you would read as pay rates and compensation outside of pay rates. For PEPRA members, that's where some of the confusion comes in, because pensionable compensation there aren't two separate definable terms for compensation as pay rate and compensation outside of pay rate. It's just all considered pensionable compensation. It's for employees that became CalPERS members after January 1st, 2013. I think pretty much everybody knows that at this point. That's how you define PEPRA members. And then now we're going to start to see some of the consistencies. It has to be available to all employees in the same group or class. Again, one person is not a group or class. Next slide, please. The list of items that are available. So if you recall, for classic members, there's 104 items in CCR 571. In CCR 571.1, which is specific to PEPRA members, there's 98 items. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means that there's a certain amount of items, really it's 6.5 items, that are excluded for PEPRA members. And the items are bonus pay, off-salary schedule pay, OSSP, management incentive, Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA. I'm going to circle back to that in a second because that's your half. Uniform allowance, temporary upgrade pay, and then value of employer paid member contributions, VEPMC. I think most schools are familiar with the EPMC issue with PEPRA members, just because that was a pretty big topic back in 2012, 2013. As far as circling back to the FLSA portion, it's specific to non-safety members. If you have safety members, they may still be eligible for FLSA compensation. It will need to meet the requirements for compensation outside of pay rates, and it'll need to meet the definition that's in CCR 571.1. However, it's specific to non-safety members where it's excluded for PEPRA members. Again, it's the same thing as far as specifically and exclusively defined. All 98 items have the definitions. The 98 items that are the same as, they're the same 98 items in 571.1 as the 98 items in 571. So again, 571 for classic members has that additional like 6.5 items, but the 98 items are the same. So there's no difference with PEPRA and classic, other than some definitions are a little bit different. For the most part, like 97 of those items, it's the same definition for classic and PEPRA. All right, next slide, please. All right, so for PEPRA members, your pensionable compensation has to be available to all the members in the group or class. We went over that. It's part of their normally required duties. It's performed during normal hours of employment, paid periodically as earned, historically consistent. Next slide, please. Not final settlement pay. Again, just like CCR 571, final settlement pay, it's defined in California Code of Regulations 570, does not create an unfunded liability. And this is where some of the confusion comes in, is this next part. It's paid pursuant to publicly available pay schedules, or PAPs, as we like to call them, with items listed and conditions of payment. The confusion on that is a lot of people will read that and go, okay, so for my classic members, I have to have this in a written labor policy like a, MOU or a collective bargaining agreement. And then for what my PEPRA members, I have to have this on a publicly available pay schedule. Well, you just have to read down one more item in CCR 571.1 where it says cannot reference another document other than those outlined in Government Code 20049. So what does 20049 say? Next slide, please. Well, that defines labor policy. So what it's saying is it can't reference another document except for a labor policy. And then what's a labor policy? Agreement, memorandum of understanding, legislative action of the employer's governing body used to specify special compensation of represented and unrepresented employees. Long story short, that's your MOU, that's your collective bargaining agreement, that's your written labor policy. I strongly encourage employers that have Classic and PEPRA members, which is all of you, to have your special and pensionable compensation items outside of pay rate listed in the same written labor policy. Don't break them out, don't reference another document. Again, this part of the requirements allows for it all to be in one place, and I highly recommend limit confusion for yourselves, your bargaining units, your employees, and your unions, and just have everything in one written labor policy. All right, next slide, please. So what are some of the requirements of written labor policies? Again, this is going to be very important for both your PEPRA and your Classic members, because just like we discussed, you're going to have them all in that one place. So your written labor policy has to be duly approved in a public meeting pursuant to public meeting laws. It has to contain your conditions of payment. So your conditions of payment are the definition of the special or pensionable compensation, how often or how periodically it's being paid, the why behind it. It has everything in there that explains exactly what that item is, how it's being paid, how often it's being paid, and we'll probably explain a little bit about as far as like how it's going to be reported to CalPERS as well. We see that every once in a while and it's appreciated. Your written labor policy has to be immediately accessible. So what does that mean? It means that most of you have your MOUs and your collective bargaining agreements available online. That's wonderful. That would be immediately accessible. If you don't, then if not just CalPERS, but any member of the public, okay, calls you up and says, I want to see your collective bargaining agreement for your classified school members, you have to, or school employees, you have to provide that immediately. It is a requirement. Yeah, it has to have your effective and revision dates. Now, these can be a little bit different because you can have a collective bargaining agreement that say is effective, July 1st, 2024, and it goes through June 30th, 2026. You could have a revision somewhere in the middle of there, in the middle of that period. So if you have a revision, it has to have that revision date on there. The effective date usually remains unchanged. And then it cannot reference another document in lieu of disclosing your special or pensionable compensation item. For example, let's say you have a management memorandum of understanding, because you're not going to have most of you probably won't have a management collective bargaining agreement. And you say all compensation items outside of pay rate are going to be the same as the group or class that the managers manage. Well, that's just referencing another document. And then anything that you report on them for special or pensionable compensation outside of pay rate isn't going to be reportable for pension calculation purposes. So again, does not reference another document. Next slide, please. Okay, so what does all this mean? Well, as you can see through this, outside of those 6.5 items, your requirements are the same as far as how you need to document your written labor policy, how special or pensionable compensation is reportable to CalPERS. And even though there's a lot of different government codes and regulations that govern over, whether it's a classic member or a PEPRA member. When you really bring it all together, you come down to the same requirements. And so it's for compensation. So for your compliant special and pensionable compensation checklist, it's for compensation outside your normal pay rate. It's available to all employees in the group or class. For classic members, it must be contained in a written labor policy. And then for PEPRA members, it must be contained in a written labor policy or publicly available pay schedule. Next slide, please. It must be for normally required duties during normal working hours. It's paid periodically and reported as earned. Complies with the definitions in California Code of Regulations 571 or 571.1, depending on if it's classic or PEPRA. And then it has to have the conditions of payment. We went over that a little bit. We're talking about eligibility, amount, and then frequency. I like to throw in there as well. The amount is usually either a percentage or a dollar amount. All right, next slide, please. So that was your checklist for your, special and pensionable compensation items. We also created a checklist for a compliant written labor policy. Again, a written labor policy can be a lot of different documents. It's commonly referred to as, sorry, I'm getting some messages here. It's commonly referred to as, a memorandum of understanding with schools, or again, collective bargaining agreement. But the requirements are, it has to be duly approved in a public meeting during open session. All compensation listed conforms with PERL definitions. It contains all conditions of payment. It's immediately available for public review. Contains effective and revision dates. Identifies all covered employees. So that's your group or class. So for a lot of employers, it would be your, classified, your classified members, but you can have different collective bargaining agreements inside of even that category that can break out different groups or classes. Again, the real main thing to really look out for with your group or class is you can't have a group or class of one. And then cannot reference another document to identify compensation, and retain for public inspection no less than 5 years. That's a 5-year retention policy. Now, with these checklists, if you retain these and you have these, and whether you're going through collective bargaining or you're trying to, alter some type of special or pensionable compensation, if you have these checklists on hand, you can literally go through them and you can just mark off, okay, I did A, B, C, D, E, and we have resources at CalPERS to help you after you go through that process to just ensure that nothing was missed. But if you use these checklists and you go through these processes, most of the time, you're not going to have compliance issues. And again, we're aware that the public employees retirement law can be confusing. We're aware that there's a lot of different government codes and regulations that really oversee compensation compliance. And so we're always striving to give you guys tools and do presentations to make that process a little bit easier. Hopefully this helped. And then again, if you have any questions, please ask in the chat that we have set up. Or if you want to ask them in person, go ahead and write them down and then ask during our Q&A, because I will still be around to help with that as well. Next slide, please. Already talked about this, but your questions can be asked in the chat, and then we will answer them during our Q&A. And I will sign off and go back to Mr. Hansen.
Yeah. Thanks, Ken. Since we have a few minutes, Ken, I was wondering if you could hang out with me on this part. I wonder if we can go over some of the questions in the QA that we've already answered, just so everybody can kind of hear them.
Okay.
We have like 5 minutes or so. And at the end too, when we have time, we can also do more Q&A as well. But since we had a few minutes, I thought it might be a good idea to go over a few of them. So let's see here. So here's a good one. It looks like Serena already answered it. For bilingual pay, can you go over what that would look like to be considered credible regarding the type of work. I mean, you know, when it comes to any type of special comp, what I would say is you should always submit your language to our team. Because sometimes it seems obvious, but the way that you write it in the MOU is really important, and that's what makes it pensionable. Ken, you have anything you wanted to add to something like that?
Yeah, we've had a lot of questions actually in the last 6 months or so about bilingual premium. One of the more common issues that we see is that it's provided for, say, like a certification in, you know, a language other than English, or you know, it's something that it'll be written in, you know, when the person, you know, something like how it comes up periodically in a job, or if it comes up periodically in a job. One of the things with special and pensionable compensation, it has to be historically consistent. Bilingual premium isn't an educational incentive. So, you know, the ones that we've seen for the certificates, we've been excluding those because bilingual premium is specific for people that are routinely and consistently. So the key part to that being consistently assigned to positions that require communication skills in languages other than English. We appreciate that our employers have rigorous systems in place to ensure that the person can speak fluently in another language, especially to assist our students in the state of California. But that bilingual premium is really specific to people that consistently are communicating in languages other than English. It's not for like a certification or something like that. It's generally part of their normal job duties. It's something that they consistently do.
You know, Vina had a couple good questions on here. I'll go over them really quick. Yeah, she actually reached out to me a few weeks ago, and Ken and I have already talked about this, but she's asking if there could be more sample language out there for commonly used special comp items or even sample pay schedules. We're always looking to enhance our compensation reporting website and looking to add in more samples that employers can go out there and look at for their own self-service. So definitely, Vina, Ken and I talked about this, and we're looking to add some more language in there. Ken, anything more to add on that?
You know, that's something that's been a goal of mine for about the last 2 years. One of the things that I'd really like to do, I'm sure most of you are familiar with our compliance and compensation reporting webpage. It's a great tool for all of you. But we have a special / pensionable compensation reportability table on there. And one of the things that I've wanted to do for quite a while now is to provide specific checklists, kind of like I did a checklist here, that's more of a broad checklist. We want to actually create checklists for the individual special and pensionable compensation items and additional sample language to help out our employers. It's something that we do have planned in the near future. We just need to put together a little bit of time to pull it together.
Yep. Yeah, we're always open to your ideas. Email us anytime, and any suggestions you have for any type of language or things you want to have updated. And if we can do it, we'll get it in there. Just to let you guys know though, whenever we need to update anything with myCalPERS or our website, it can take some time. We have to start projects up with different divisions to get those in there. But we definitely are looking to enhance that. You know, Vina had a question about backdating MOUs, and looks like Serena answered that one as well. Well, yes, you know, we definitely can accept side letters and things of that nature to update MOUs on a retroactive basis. You know, it has to always be compliant with all of our laws. We have to have all of them approved by your governing bodies. We need meeting minutes, the votes, all of that. So it's still the same rules would apply. But yes, especially with audits, we do allow for that within reason. Anything to add on to that, Ken?
Yeah. So when we've talked to employers in the past in my section, unless it has something to do with like some type of special audit, so I'm just going to exclude that because I know there are employers on here that have been part of some, you know, special audits that have happened in the past. But, you know, excluding that, the audit scopes that are generally done by our Office of Audit Services are 3 years. Okay. And then as noted in your checklist that you now have for special and pensionable compensation, CalPERS retention policy is 5 years. So we really don't encourage employers to go back any farther than 5 years unless it's absolutely necessary. You know, if you are going back farther than the retention policy or farther back than, say, an audit resolution would require, we're probably going to ask why, and we'll get into a more robust conversation about the why behind what you're doing.
All right. Well, thanks, Ken, for hanging out with me the last 5 minutes and adding that real meat to the questions that I tried to answer.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Well, that brings us up to the break. We're going to take a quick 15-minute break, and we'll start promptly back at 10:45, and we'll start it off with Courtney McGordy talking about post-retirement employment. All right. We'll see you guys in 15. Thank you. So we're back, and now we're going to punch it on over to Courtney McGordy as promised, and she's going to talk to us about post-retirement employment. Courtney, take it away.
Thank you, Brad. Hello, and thank you for joining me today. My name is Courtney McGordy, and I'm the manager over the post-retirement employment team at CalPERS. I have been asked to join today to discuss post-retirement employment for CalPERS retirees. If you have questions while I'm presenting, please put them in the chat, and there will be people there who can answer them for you. Next slide. Can you not hear me? Oh, there you go. Sorry. Okay. So the topics we're going to go over today are options for employment without reinstatement, the restrictions that follow that employment, the consequences that could incur if the restrictions aren't followed, and myCalPERS information. Next slide. So working without reinstatement, RAs can be in an appointment for extra help. This is a valuable tool for addressing temporary business needs. RAs can provide critical work during emergencies, bring specialized skills for short-term tasks to help address backlog of work, or assist with a special one-time project. However, these appointments must have a limited duration and cannot serve as an indefinite or permanent solution to ongoing business needs. Just to be clear, because I know this has been a hot topic, you can employ RAs in an extra help capacity as long as it is done so compliantly. By utilizing RAs appropriately, organizations can effectively manage temporary challenges while maintaining compliance with retirement employment restrictions. Next slide. So the first we're going to go over today is the bona fide separation. When appointing an RA, it is essential to ensure compliance with the rules surrounding a bona fide separation from service. This means that there must be a limit break between the individual's retirement and their start to work, specifically if they are under the normal retirement age. They are required to observe a 60-day service before being rehired. Additionally, there can be no verbal or written prearranged agreement prior to the individual's retirement. This ensures this separation is genuine and not pre-planned, which could otherwise violate the post-retirement restrictions. What is the normal retirement age? That is defined as the highest retirement age in all of the retirees' formula, with a maximum of 62 years. For example, if the retiree has multiple retirement formulas, the highest age among them is used to determine their normal retirement age. The only exception to the 60-day break requirement is in the case of emergencies declared by the governor. However, it's important to note that this exception applies solely to the 60-day requirement and does not waive other rules or requirements related to RA appointments unless otherwise in an executive order. Next slide. The next restriction is the 180-day wait period. This is in addition to the 60-day break for those under the normal retirement age, as this applies to all retirees prior to returning to work as an RA. However, there are specific exceptions to this restriction. The first one applies to safety employment, where a retiree is returning to a safety position. The second exception allows for the appointment of an RA prior to the completion of the 180-day wait period if a formal resolution is passed by the governing body. This resolution must clearly define the necessity of the RA's appointment and must be passed during a public meeting and not part of a consent calendar. It's important to note that this resolution must be submitted to and reviewed by CalPERS prior to the retiree's first day of employment. Without this review and approval, the appointment would not comply with CalPERS regulations. 60-day wait period for bona fide separation and the 180-day wait period run congruently, but a resolution or safety employment does not waive the 60-day wait period if the member is under their normal retirement age. Next slide. Okay, so this one I'm sure you all know about and are very familiar with. It is the 960 hour. This limit applies across all CalPERS covered employers. And the only exception to this limit is during emergencies declared under the governor's executive order. In these cases, the 960-hour restriction may be temporarily lifted to address the specific needs of the emergency. However, this exception is narrowly applied and must align with the terms of the executive order. We rolled out a new system enhancement that now notifies the employer of hours currently reported for an RA with an additional employer when a new appointment is added in myCalPERS. This will help to identify hours for the RA for that fiscal year across all employers. Next slide. The last restriction we're going to talk about is pay. When employing an RA, the rate of pay for an RA is determined by the duties they perform and must fall within the range paid to other employees performing comparable duties. Specifically, the RA's hourly rate cannot be lower than the minimum nor exceed the maximum rate by the employer for similar roles. This hourly rate is calculated by dividing the monthly salary for the comparable position by 173.33, the standard number of work hours in a month. Additionally, the pay rate must be listed on a publicly available salary schedule. It is important to note that RAs are not eligible for additional benefits or compensation beyond their hourly pay. This means no health benefits, retirement contributions, bonuses, stipends, or other forms of compensation can be provided. Next slide. What is the employer's responsibility? When hiring an RA, it is critical to ensure full compliance with all applicable restrictions and guidelines outlined by CalPERS. Employers must maintain proper documentation to justify the need of the RA's appointment, including a clear explanation of the temporary and limited nature of their role. This documentation is essential for demonstrating that the appointment aligns with CalPERS rules and is not being used as a permanent solution to ongoing business needs. CalPERS has created a hiring questionnaire that you as the employer can use to ensure you're hiring RAs compliantly, ensuring you're not missing anything. It is also important to report RA employments timely and accurately to avoid fees, and provide accurate data to avoid violations to the RA. Last but not least, ensure that all RAs have certified they did not receive unemployment insurance in the previous 12 months upon hiring. Next slide. Let's talk about the consequences. So the first consequence could be reinstatement to active membership. If an RA is found in violation of CalPERS rules or restrictions, they may be subject to reinstatement to active membership. This means their retirement status ceases and they are returned to active employment status, which can have significant financial and administrative consequences for both the retiree and the employer. The member will have to pay back all overpayment of retirement benefits, which are benefits paid to the individual during the violation period. Additionally, the retiree's cost of living adjustment will restart at the time of their new retirement, which could result in a recalculation of future benefits. Reinstatement may also have health benefit impacts. Depending on the circumstances, the retiree's eligibility for retiree health benefits may be affected, potentially requiring adjustments to their coverage or contributions. During the violation period, contributions are required for any service reported, including employee and employer contributions. The second consequence could be a violation of remedy. If a violation occurs, the RA is required to repay all benefits received during the violation period. This repayment can be made in a lump sum payment or through an actuarial reduction, which reduces future retirement benefits to account for the overpayment. Next slide. Information that is available in myCalPERS. Employers can use myCalPERS to track key details and avoid potential violations. myCalPERS can display the 180-day wait period for retirees, showing the first day a retiree would be eligible to return without requiring a resolution waiver. The system also provides a warning notification if an appointment is entered that could potentially violate the bona fide requirement. Additionally, CalPERS tracks and displays the hours reported for the fiscal year across all appointments the retirer may have with other employees, and this is displayed when entering a new appointment. And for retirees, the member self-service portal in myCalPERS provides access to important personal data. Retirees can review their maximum normal retirement age, their total reported hours for the fiscal year, and their 180-day return date. This information is also sent in a letter upon enrollment of an RA appointment. Next slide. If you have further questions, you can call our contact center for general questions. You can visit our website. If you have more detailed or complex questions, I suggest emailing our Working After Retirement inbox, and an analyst can help address those issues for you. And I am done, so we can open it up to the next presenter.
Thank you, Courtney. And I was getting some feedback about questions and answers. At the very end, when we go to QA, I'll make sure to go over some of the questions that we answered in the Q&A as well. So thanks again, Courtney. We're now going to transition over to Andy Harris, and he's going to talk to us about the importance of perm separations. Take it away, Andy.
Thank you, Brad. Appreciate that. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name's Andy Harris, and I'm the manager of our membership analysis team here at CalPERS. Again, before I begin, if you have any questions, go ahead and hit us up in the chat. We have team members that'll help you respond or help you, answer your questions. And there should be time at the end, so we should be able to answer some of your questions live as well. So today, I'm going to be discussing with you permanent separations, but not in the way you're probably thinking. We understand that you know what permanent separations are and how to add them. Today, I'll be discussing with you some new enhancements that we'll be adding next week, as of August 9th, regarding maintaining and updating permanent separations to help you better maintain your appointments. That's kind of the whole focus here. So next slide, please. Okay. So let's begin with our general reporting requirements so we can kind of set up some background for you on this. As you may know, CalPERS employers, you're tasked to add, update, maintain appointments, and appointment events in our system. These include all these items on the list you're seeing now. As you can see, permanent separations are on this list, which is our main focus today. Why is this important? Well, I'm glad you asked. Next slide, please. Maintaining separations, it's important to maintain and update your permanent separations regularly and timely. Timely is an important aspect here because it can impact your employees in a number of ways, as you can see here. It could impact their future enrollments, their formula placement, their reciprocity determinations when they move employers. Many of you work with CalSTRS, so this could affect their reciprocity between our two systems. Finally, I'd like to draw special attention to this last item on this list. It's something we call illegal retirements. Illegal retirements is when a member retires from our system and does not separate from all of their employment. The law requires that members separate from all CalPERS covered employers prior to retirement to be eligible to retire. So if a retiree does not separate and continues their employment through their retirement date, so they just keep on working, this is known as an illegal retirement. So we've recently come across a bunch of these cases where members retired and the employer had not separated them from employment prior to retirement for a number of reasons, whether they didn't know about it or whether they just didn't do it and they weren't aware of the member's retirement date. Either way, as a result, it made the member not eligible to retire on their chosen retirement date because they were still employed. Because of this, we emphasize that actively maintaining and adding separation dates for your employees will help ensure that these illegal retirements, as we call them, are minimized. We really want to minimize that as much as we can because it has many financial impacts to their retirement. If they've been receiving a check or they're going to receive a check, it could impact what they're getting, and if they have to pay back, that could be an impact as well. So what exactly have we done for permanent separations? Well, we've done a couple things to help you out that I'm going to go over right now. So next slide, please. So this is our first enhancement. It's an enhancement that we added, and it's for those members that may not work all the time or have a sporadic schedule. To help you maintain these appointments, we've added enhancement to notify you if a separation date is needed for these. Our system automatically adds permanent separations to active appointments in certain situations. In this situation specifically, we've added an enhancement that will auto-separate an appointment if zero payroll has been reported for more than 12 months. So if you've been reporting zero payroll and after 12 months, no separation date is added, the system will auto-separate the appointment. But before we auto-separate the appointment, though, we'll definitely notify you at a number of checkpoints, as you can see here. Our first checkpoint will be after 3 months of zero payroll being reported. We'll notify your agency about this appointment via letter. And in that letter, we're going to recommend one of 3 actions. We're going to recommend adding a permanent separation date if they have one, putting the member on a leave of absence if that applies, or reporting service if they've worked and service needs to be reported. So after that, if no action is taken and the agency continues to report zero payroll, then after 6 months, we'll send you another notification. And this notification will give you the same advice. And in that letter, it'll again let you know what actions we recommend taking. And then after that, it'll let you know that, hey, after 12 months, we're going to auto-separate this appointment. So then after 12 months, if no action has been taken and zero payroll is still being reported, we're going to send you a final notice of to your agency and to the member, letting everybody know that the appointment will be separated at that point. At this point, if the member is still working and you need to remove the separation date or edit it, then you can go into the system and do that at that time. So as you can see with this, we're really trying to make sure that your appointments are being monitored so that we, do all the things that, I mentioned before about getting proper benefits and proper formulas and all those kinds of things. So this is our first effort that we've made to help with all that. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is our second enhancement, and this is the enhancement that will help us with our illegal retirements, as I mentioned before. This is for members that have retired and not have had a separation date added to the system after they've retired. Again, this was added because we found that many members were retiring but not officially separated from their employer and not separated for the system. Again, which creates issues with being eligible to retire and getting proper benefits. So to help you with these issues, we've added some notifications to direct the employers to add separation dates. We've added 2 notifications at 2 distinct time periods, and it's important to note these time periods. When an employer, apologize, to help you assist with this, when a member retires and their appointment is still active after 2 months of the retirement date, if there's no separation date added to the system, we'll notify your agency via letter that the member has retired and that a separation date is needed to be added to the appointment. If at that point, if there was no action taken after 4 months, if there's no action taken and there's no separation date added to the system, we'll send your agency another letter directing you to add a separation date. At that point, if no separation date is added, then our benefits team will suspend the member's benefit until a separation date is applied. And so that's the point I want to emphasize with this second notification, that there likely will be a benefit suspension until we get that separation date is applied. So it's important, if you do get these notifications, that you do act as quickly as can by putting in the appropriate separation date. So that's why adding and maintaining separation dates is so important. If you do get these notifications, please update or add the separation dates into the system as soon as possible. That way we can minimize any interruption of benefits or anything like that. Also, after 4 months, our team will get a notification and will reach out to your agency to confirm if a separation date is needed or if the member is still working. As a side note for this, we also have an additional enhancement for members in their self-service account, which will be super helpful for this. Members will now be able to view all of their active appointments online, so they can also assist with ensuring that they're properly separated from employment prior to retirement. So they can go look and see what appointments they have active that they know need to go clean up. Maybe they weren't aware of them, maybe you weren't aware of them. But they will be aware and they'll be able to take action so that they can properly retire and have a uninterrupted retirement. Next slide, please. So if you review a member's appointment and find that they've retired and have not separated, or separated after their retirement date, this may be an illegal retirement. So if you find yourself in this situation, we need you to please notify us immediately so we can help you assess and rectify this situation. Please email our Working After Retirement inbox, the one Courtney mentioned before. Please email that inbox with the retiree's name and CalPERS ID so we can efficiently address the situation. And once we do that, we'll rectify the situation, we'll review it, and we'll make sure that the member gets a separation date added and make all the corrections needed if there are any. So we truly appreciate all your help with maintaining your employees' information, and we hope to see that these enhancements will be helpful for you, your employees, and for us. We're really looking forward to it, and we're really excited, and we really appreciate all your help your teams do in general in maintaining your appointments. We just wanted to add today, this emphasis of these permanent separations. And so again, we appreciate your help going forward. And if you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Okay. And we got a lot of good questions about these enhancements on here. And again, I'm going to cover some of that during the Q&A in case you guys weren't able to keep up with the answers. So next up, we have Vernon Thompson from the Customer Education Outreach Division, and he's going to talk to you about CalPERS and employer member education resources. Take it away, Vernon.
Thank you, Brad. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Again, my name is Vernon Thompson, and I'm an employer educator here with the Employer Education and Communication Unit inside the Customer Education and Outreach Division. And I'm here to talk to you today about educational opportunities and resources for you and your employees here at CalPERS. I'm going to be talking about 2 types of education. Next slide. 2 types of education. I'm going to discuss employer education and member education. Our employer education is about helping you school employers manage retirement and health benefits for your employees while staying compliant with our retirement laws. We offer comprehensive training opportunities, resources, workshops, informational events with multiple dates to support employers in maintaining your CalPERS related responsibilities. We cover topics not just about laws, rules, and procedures, dealing with your agency's retirement contracts, but also navigating and processing transactions inside myCalPERS. And we have a variety of instructor-led or self-paced classes designed to help you meet your responsibilities. Our goal is to make your job easier and ensure compliance and keep operations smooth for your team and your employees. For member education, I'm going to show you the Member Education Center, where you as members, or you can explain to your employees as members, can find upcoming events such as the California Benefit Education Events, otherwise known as CBEs, and show you where you can subscribe to the Member Education Bulletin. Also from the Education Center, you sign up for, again, virtual in-person and virtual in-person instructor-led and self-paced online classes, depending on what career stage you're in. We're also going to touch on myCalPERS registration and some regional office appointment tips. Again, our goal is to help members make informed decisions and confidently plan for retirement. So our employer education class types. There's two types of education. We offer free classes here at CalPERS to help you learn about CalPERS rules and laws and policies. Again, there's two types of classes. We have business rules classes and we have myCalPERS classes. The way we like to think about this is think about learning to drive in California after 1993, right? You took driver's ed in high school, right? Which was the class that taught you the rules of the road, right? That's what they teach. That's business rules. So that's your roles, responsibilities, and rules you need to follow, like when and how to enroll employees. And then our myCalPERS class is like driver's training. They teach you how to drive the car, how to navigate the system and complete transactions efficiently. So that's the way we like to think about it. Together, we give you like the complete picture of working with CalPERS. And so we highly recommend you take the classes in that order. You want to learn the rules of the road, the business rules class, before you learn to drive the car and navigate the myCalPERS system. And again, these classes aren't just for new employees. We highly recommend seasoned employees come take them as a refresher to stay up to date with changes to laws and procedures and the myCalPERS system. So we offer, again, both self-paced online and instructor-led classes to help you gain a deeper understanding of your processes and procedures. So our online classes are available 24/7 and can be accessed through any device through myCalPERS, and you can learn at your own pace when it's convenient for you. We also have both virtual and in-person classes, instructor-led classes. So the virtual classes are great. They allow you to join our employer educators wherever you are. And for our in-person classes are held at our regional offices where you can work face-to-face with an instructor. And for our myCalPERS classes, we even provide hands-on interactive training with practice scenarios in a training environment. And then we offer a wide variety of resources on the CalPERS website to support you both before and after your classes, including business rules, reference guides, and health guides, myCalPERS student guides, and more. Next, I'm going to show you an example of our business rules class schedule. This shows you how this table shows you how our classes are organized across a 3-day sequence. Each class is unique and does require a separate registration in myCalPERS. We have the days arranged in the order you should take them. So you should definitely take day 1 business rules for school employers before you take a day 3 advanced class. And this allows you to plan and understand which classes are going to be necessary depending on your business partner role and agency type. And next, I have an example of the myCalPERS training classes. Again, the class is broken, the table breaks it down, the class structure over 3 days. But along with our in-person classes and our virtual classes, we do also offer employer-sponsored classes. We can come directly to your agency. So here's how it works. We will tailor our trainings to fit your agency's schedules and needs. You can choose to receive either business rules or myCalPERS training, and it can be virtual or in person. Again, we want to recommend that you do the business rules classes first. It's like, again, driver's ed before, driver's training. If your agency doesn't have space for the training, you can even use one of our CalPERS regional office training rooms if need be. To set up one of these employer-sponsored trainings, reach out to the email I'm going to give you at the end of the presentation, and we'll work to make sure it happens. We would also encourage you to sign up for our employer bulletin. think we've missed a slide. Our employer bulletin, which is how you will receive what's on the screen right now. Signing up for our employer bulletin will get you news and information about your agency. It will also get you circular letters when the circular letters are sent to you. So our circular letters are letters that provide guidance and updates and clarifications about all aspects of working with CalPERS, including reporting requirements, benefit calculations, and again, all the requirements with the public employee retirement law. They're arranged by release date, but our search function does as well. And so we'll have every circulator going back to 1996. And as I mentioned before, we have a lot of helpful tools on our website, including our reference health and student guides. As you can see from the reference on the employer tab, you can locate them by going to the employer tab and then reference and health guides. And you'll see we have the updated public agency and school guide, the public agency school health benefits guide. And then on the bottom right, there is both a link to the My Employer student guides and a link to the Pearl if you need a link to the Pearl. Now we're going to switch topics and we're going to talk about member education resources. So we're going to discuss the Member Education Resource Center, the Member Education Bulletin, CB's registrations, and regional office appointments. So starting with our Member Education Center, this is the hub for you and your employees for webinars, workshops, and guides to help you understand your benefits and plan for retirement. Also, it will include how you can register for virtual and in-person instructor-led and the self-paced online classes that we have at any career stage. We have a benefits basics class that has an overview of CalPERS events, retirement calculations, and account tools. We have a planning for retirement class, which is a comprehensive class on pensions and estimates and benefit options. And then we actually have a retirement application class that has step-by-step guidance for applying and managing post-retirement details. We also have a member education bulletin that you can sign from inside the Member Education Center. And that's how you're going to get, again, a member education bulletin with updated news about events, resources, and important CalPERS news. Also inside the Member Education Center, you're going to find information about our CBs. These are in-person or virtual instructor events that offer expert guidance on retirement planning, health benefits, and more. CBs provide you an opportunity to learn about your retirement, again, much like our classes I mentioned before, whether you're earlier in your career or retirement is around the corner or somewhere in between. We really recommend people come to CBs because the earlier your employees as members understand their benefits, the more prepared they'll be to make informed decisions and plan for their financial future. And Brad's going to talk about this shortly, but we also would like to encourage you to encourage your employees, your team members to enroll in their myCalPERS accounts. So they can log in, and again, Brad's going to discuss this more shortly, but log into their myCalPERS accounts. Active members can find current service credit requirements and contributions on their account. They can run retirement estimates and much more. And then finally, what I'd like to discuss is we would like you to help your employees prepare when they come visit a CalPERS regional office. We have 8 regional offices throughout California, and members can schedule appointments for a variety of needs. So in order to help you to prepare, we ask you to encourage them to prepare early. So again, registering for that myCalPERS account, reviewing their account, the retirement estimates, making sure that they review any letters they get from us before they come. Make sure in the next part to make sure that they clarify their goals so they understand what they're coming to talk about when they come to a regional office, and then make sure when for the day that they have their appointment, that they have all the essentials they need: their IDs, their cell phone, any myCalPERS login credentials, and any sort of forms and paperwork that they would need. And with that, again, we as educators, we're here to help, and we really want to assist making your job easier and our system more understandable. So please email us for any myCalPERS business rules or myCalPERS training needs at calpers_employer_communications. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Brad.
Actually, Vernon, if you would, since I'm the next speaker, could you introduce me and transition me to my slides, please?
Sure. Yeah, next we're going to have Brad, and he is going to be Brad Hansen from the Employer Account Management Division. He is going to be discussing myCalPERS system registration.
Thank you. You did that really well too. I'm gonna take some pointers from you next time. Thanks, Vernon.
Thanks, Brad.
Yep. All right. So we're getting near the end of the school advisory committee meeting. Vernon actually did a great job of covering a lot of the benefits for members having a myCalPERS account. If you would, next slide, please. You know, he touched on a lot of these things, you know, and here's some really good reasons to set up a myCalPERS account. You know, members can go out at any time and check on their status of their account. They can see how much service credit they have. They can see how many contributions they have in the system. If they're a retired annuitant, they can actually see how many hours they've worked as a retired annuitant. They can book appointments. They can go into different training classes. They can look information up. It's just a great self-service tool that members can utilize. You know, another thing they can do obviously is generate those estimates. You know, I know now that I've turned 50 myself, I'm out there every couple of weeks checking to see how much money I'm going to be making when I do retire, you know. So anyways, you know, I can advocate that it's a great resource for our members to use. One of the key things though to consider when you want to sign up for a myCalPERS account is it helps keep your account secure. If members don't go out there and create their account, there's always that potential risk that a fraudster or a nefarious person may go out there and then try to set up an account for another member. You know, we have a lot of security protocols in place that prevent those type of things, but you know, hackers nowadays, they get more and more clever about how they can get around those type of things. So it's really important for members to go out there and sign up for that account. So that leads me to the next slide. Next slide, please. CalPERS has a campaign going on this year where we're trying to promote not only members to enroll in myCalPERS, but to also engage with you, the employer, to see if it's feasible for you when you hire new employees to get them enrolled in their myCalPERS account. Now, at the Ed Forum this year, we're going to add a slide to all of our different presentations that speak to this. And then we're going to have a booth, an exhibit booth set up specifically for this myCalPERS registration. So what we're going to be doing over this next year is we're going to be setting up focus groups to engage with you to see what are some questions, concerns, or the feasibility of you to set up a person's account when they first get hired with you. I know that like there's a lot of like some things I've heard from employers. Well, when someone gets first hired, they're not in the system yet, and they can't be set up in myCalPERS. Or is it maybe a question of like, could you give us some resources? Could you provide us maybe a QR code or a quick link to see if we can just hand that to the member and have them register once things are set up? So these are the type of things that we want to hear in some of these focus groups. And at the end, you know, we're going to gather up all the data, and we're not going to just talk to schools. We're going to talk to the state employers, the public agency employers, all of them, and then come up with a good recommendation to see if we can do this going forward. Again, more people we have on the myCalPERS, their own member self-service myCalPERS account, it can lead to a lot less inquiries and members doing more self-service so they can find the information more quickly. And most importantly, it keeps their account more secure. So again, if you're going to the school advice, or excuse me, to the Ed Forum this year, make sure to come visit me at that booth if you're interested in being in one of those focus groups. Or even if you know right now you want to be part of one, go ahead and you can either email me at the SEAC mailbox, or you can email me directly at brad.hansen.calpers, or excuse me, brad.hansen@calpers.ca.gov. And I'd be glad to take your name down and get the ball rolling on that process. So again, it's not obviously a requirement. We're just going to engage with you to see if you can help us get those members enrolled in a timely basis on their member self-service account so they can start using the great benefits that are available to them. Okay, so that's all I have to say about that. I'm going to open it up now for the roundtable questions. Before we take any live questions, though, let me just cover some of the things that I saw in the QA. You know, it seems like there was quite a few questions about the zero payroll line reporting. So when we talk about zero payroll, we're not talking about someone that's on a true leave of absence. If you're on a leave of absence, the employer should indeed key them as a leave of absence. And in those cases, we're not going to be expecting payroll. The zero payroll line is reserved for those people that, like for instance, substitutes that maybe don't work every month, but you don't want to separate them because you know you might be bringing them back later on that year. So what we were seeing, we had a recent audit, and through the audit, we were seeing that there were some employers, and this doesn't just apply to schools, it applies to other employers as well, where we had appointments where zero payroll was reported for 2-3 years. And in instances like that, it raises the question, is the person really still working there? It can create other issues, such as perhaps the person left a school or an employer and then went to another one, and then they were truly perm sept, but they looked active because of zero payroll line, and they get put into classic when they should have been put into PEPRA. Or also too, when we review the rates on a yearly basis, we take the zero payroll line into consideration, but it also can create delays there because some of that information needs to be weeded out. So the zero payroll line should really only be utilized for people that are still active but just don't work consistently every month. And all we're asking is that if you have someone in there for a year, to go ahead and separate them. But if you still need them in there, you can turn around and then re-enroll them again and start reporting them. So hopefully that adds some clarification. I also saw some questions about our new permanent separation enhancement that we're doing. Again, this really came from an audit that we had as well, where we saw there was quite a few people that were retired. However, in our system, they were still showing as active. And I know Andy touched on this quite a bit. In a lot of cases, there wasn't a lot of issues, but what we found is that someone was on retirement and they had multiple appointments. Maybe one of those appointments they separated from, but they didn't separate from the other one. They continued working. And in cases like that, like Andy touched on, that's an illegal retirement. It can lead to massive overpayments where people owe thousands of dollars back on their retirement. They have to reinstate. You know, it can be a really bad situation for the retirees. So this is going to go live next month, or excuse me, next week. And we're just going to apply it on new retirements going forward. So we have a whole list of members right now that don't have a perm step but are retired, and we're going to set up a project internally and reach out to employers to help us clean up that older data. We didn't want to send out a bunch of these letters on day one to people that have been retired for 30 years and alarm them that their benefits might be suspended. So just keep that in mind that yes, we are turning that on next week, but we're not applying it retro. We're just applying it to new retirements going forward. I'm just kind of going through some of these other questions that I saw in the QA. I saw there was questions again about limited duration for retired annuitants. Heather answered this question. You know, we don't have a clear definition in the Pearl. However, we do try to enforce limited duration. We don't have a real heavy fist or hand with this one, if you will. What we do is when we see that there's been a retiree that's been working for, say, 5+ years, we don't really have a set time, but we look at that 5 year. What we'll do is we'll reach out to employers and we'll ask them, what is the need for this retired annuitant? You know, do you still need that person working there? What is the purpose of their work? Do you have a true business need for that? So we're going to work with you. We're not going to just go in and start permanently separating retired annuitants. We want to work with you to make sure that you are being compliant with limited duration and that you do have a true need. The main thing with retired annuitants is we just want to make sure that you're documenting it appropriately, that you have that need for that person to work. Like, for instance, we get a lot of questions with bus drivers specifically where they work in a rural area and you've made attempts to hire someone to be a permanent sub or to fill in for a day, but you just can't find somebody. It's okay to bring an RA in for that type of need. All we do is just ask you to document that the reason why that you needed to hire that specific person. Again, we want to work with you on this. We're not going to have a heavy hand. So just wanted to clear the air on that. There was questions too about the letters that will be sent out on these perm steps and the zero payroll, and it really will depend how you're set up in the system, but the intent is to get it out to all of the either the COE or districts that need to be aware of it so that they can make the necessary corrections in the system. Just doing a quick scan real quick here. Okay, so I covered some of the more common ones I saw. I want to open it up now to the group to see if you have any live questions. And Heather, Ken, or anybody else, if you don't mind jumping on just in case there's some questions I need some help with.
Yeah, Brad, it looks like Teresa's had her hand up.
Okay. Teresa? I don't know if we have to unmute her or she. Okay.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Thank you. Brad, when you mentioned the leave of absence, school employers have education codes that require us to pay, even though they're out of sick time, they get 50% differential or sub-doc pay. So they still continue receiving pay with a doc of the substitute cost. And we report that still.
Okay.
If we place them on a leave of absence, your system doesn't allow us to report those earnings. So we don't report the leave of absences to you.
I would say whenever there's compensation that is reportable, then yeah, you shouldn't put them on the leave. The instances
Okay.
you should put them on the leave is when there's absolutely no comp. Like they're on a leave, they're not getting any additional pays. They basically aren't getting paid at that point. Those are the ones we would like to see the least, because what will happen is we'll start to see no earnings, no contributions coming in, and then it will raise the question, oh, should this person be permanently separated or not? But if they're on a leave and they are getting something that is compensation earnable, earnings, pay rate, all of that, continue to report them as active.
Thank you for clarifying that, because we do get questions on this after each one of these when we get
Yeah.
told to report the LOA and there's still earnings to report. So appreciate it.
Yep, no problem.
All right.
All right. We have any other questions? Okay, Erica Burton.
Hi, Brad.
Hello.
We have a district that we just found out for walk-on coaches. During the school year, they pay them with a stipend. So we know that that's not reportable. But we just learned that they started paying them during the summer at an hourly rate that's on a board-approved salary schedule. To me, that seems like it's not consistent. So would the ones that are reported at the hourly rate be reportable to PERS, or is it not reportable because it's not consistent throughout the year?
You know, it's a tricky answer. You know, one, the person would have to be eligible for membership. So
Right.
if they don't have enough hours, even if there is a position on the pay schedule, they still want to be reportable till they hit the 1,000 hours. That's what we
Right.
mostly see with
Well,
coaches.
but assuming that they are reportable, like they're already a member or they've already
Yeah.
qualified.
I mean, if they do have an established position and it's on a pay schedule and it's you know, it's got an hourly rate, everything's compliant, there's a potential that yes, indeed, that coach could be reportable. I just don't want to answer black or white, yes or no. It's one of those things where we would like to see that pay schedule, see the position, and see all the details to ensure if it is a truly reportable position. Only say that because I've seen so many different variances of that, and it really depends on how it's all written up. Ken, Heather, you have anything to expand on that?
So I was just going to ask, I'm assuming because, you know, the coach is still being paid with funds, you know, for the school. So I'm assuming even the stipend position is on some type of publicly available pay schedule. So are there two different positions on there? One for like a, say, regular season coaching stipend, and then one for, say, like a summer session coaching salary or something like that?
I want to say they are both titled walk-on coaches, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to see the documentation on it and everything, just because if it's the same title, but they're paying them different ways at different times, there's going to be some compliance issues as far as, you know, how the compensation is documented. So
Hey, and the question gets better because they also have
Better?
retired annuitants doing this.
Oh.
So then
Yeah.
would that work the same way? I need to send it over to MOU review and it would apply the same to both? Or is it different because you're trying to track hours for the ones that are paid by the hour?
I was gonna hop on and just say if they're retirees, we may see that very differently or differently.
Okay.
Because, as soon as you're talking about hours in the same role and you're being paid an hourly rate, we're going to question why they aren't reported all their hours throughout the year. And that would take away from the clear, defined difference between a stipend coach not having to report it as a retired annuitant, and now you have a salaried coach. And when you're combining them both, I would say that the whole thing would need to figure out how to be reported as salary.
Yeah, so
we
that's kind of where I was going to, Heather. By asking if it's the same position or different positions. And also, I mean, when I say more information, we would be looking at like a duty statement, scheduled hours, things like that in order to figure it out.
Okay. So I could
Yeah.
send that to the MOU review team? Or
Yeah.
do I send it? Okay.
Yeah, because
I'll do
Serena's
that.
listening to your question and messaging me too, so she's ready for you.
Okay. Thank you.
You
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah, the coaching stipends are always a tough one. I would say the majority of times that I've seen a coaching position, though, it's not reportable. But this is one of the few instances where it definitely could be.
Let's not say definitely
No,
or could.
I said
Yeah.
could.
You said definitely could. So
Definitely could. All right, well, maybe a poor choice of words.
Thank you.
All right, yeah. We'll take a look at that one for you. How's that,
For
Ken?
sure. That's
All
perfect. Thank you, sir.
right. Yeah.
Thank you, Erica.
Looks like I have a few more follow-up questions too about the unpaid leave. So when you say unpaid leave, so if someone's on a true leave of absence and they're on an unpaid leave, yes, those should be reported as leave of absences. But let's say that they're getting paid, but it's not something that's pensionable to CalPERS. I don't know what an example of that might be. On those cases, we would still want to see them on a leave of absence. We only want them to remain active if you have something that you're reporting to PERS, like in Teresa's example. Hopefully that helps answer that question. Vina also had another question. So when employees are a 39-month rehire leave, we need to separate them from per system as they are not getting paid. Please verify. So, I'm not really super familiar with the rehire leave. If that's something like a leave of absence and they're not getting paid, I would say, yeah, put them on a leave of absence, or you could even perm step them and then bring them back when they did come back. Hopefully I'm understanding that question, Vina. I don't know if you want to jump in and expand more on that one. Or Heather, are you familiar with this?
Hi, this is Teresa.
Hi, Teresa.
Hi, 39-month rehire list is the person's exhausted all available leave and they are leaving employment, but they have first right of hiring if their position or like position becomes open for the next 39 months. So they are technically not employed from my understanding of that law. Vina, you're welcome to share more, but to me, they're not on a leave. They just have first right of accepting the position.
So it almost sounds like you should permanently separate that person then. And then if they do get rehired because they have that first right, then bring them back into that new position. I'm seeing nods from the subject matter.
I would almost equate that to like our SROA list that we have with the state, so you are separated, but you do get preferential treatment as far as like a rehire, but there is no like position waiting for you, it's just if it comes back. So
yeah,
I had that conversation with and Teresa, might have even been you and Ramona, where I actually said that those people should be permanently separated. So I'll still stand by that.
That makes sense to me. Anybody else have any questions?
Brad, I think we had someone with their hand up.
Shannon, I think it was.
Yeah, hi. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I was just hoping we could go back to for each position that a person holds. Did I understand right that they need a separate appointment for each position? So with schools, we'll have an employee who might be an instructional aide, they'll also be a noon duty, They might work food services, so they may work multiple positions. Do we need a separate appointment for each of those positions?
So this one, that's the preferred thing that you do. I know for schools in the past, and I believe we're still doing this, we do allow them to, if they're the same school, that they can report out under the same position. The only problem with that is whenever we see multiple positions essentially reported as one, you see mixed pay rates, hourly, monthlies, different earnings. And it can be really confusing at the time of retirement, especially, or when there's an arrears determination, trying to figure out exactly what final comp to use, or which one's the position we're supposed to use for the arrears calculations, things of that matter. So I will say we still will allow schools to report the way they are now, but I want to encourage you to, yes, still to enroll them under separate appointment positions, because the data is a lot more transparent and easier to review, and it will lead to more accurate and compliant calcs in the future.
And those aren't things that will error out when we go to submit the file because right now, things will error out if an employee has more than one appointment with a school. So let's just say they worked for a school, the district separated them at the end of the summer because they resigned. Well, then they worked some summer school. So then a few weeks or a month later, they've got a new appointment, but they have earnings, extra duty earnings that may be related to that prior appointment. If we try to put them on the same file, it errors out and we have to do manual manipulation. So I'm just curious how multiple appointments would work with us and reporting.
I'm trying to visualize this one. Yeah, so we have other employers here that have multiple appointments, right? As long as those appointments aren't exceeding full time, we should be able to accept the pay rate and the earnings and the associated contributions for each appointment. Now, if the combined earnings are exceeding full time, I believe that's when you're going to see them air out. Because in cases like that, there could be questions of one being contributory, non-contributory. It could have been just a month where maybe someone exceeded full time and the earnings should have been reduced to accommodate 40. So there's like a lot of different scenarios on there. Shannon, we can, because like in this case, I would just need to see how the data is being reported to figure out why it's not posting. We could have someone from our payroll team or membership team reach out to you and go over that specific scenario, if that will work for you.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah, and sorry, sometimes when it gets into some of the system things, I'm just the visual type person. I need to actually see what's going on with what was reported before I can give an answer.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Erica, did you have another question?
I do, always. So this one's a membership question, and it stemmed from one of the presentations at the Ed Forum last year, where they talked about membership qualifications based on full-time or part-time and the duration of the position. So we were always under the understanding that those were based on calendar year, like if it was part-time, 20 hours or more per week for a full year. We thought that was calendar year, and then they started getting into talking about the school year. So we received questions from one district in particular about tutors, which are at-will positions. And I think we're still not clear on whether they mandatorily qualify upon hire. They are hired to work for the fiscal year or the school year, and it says that on the paperwork. It says for fiscal year 24-25, but then in the details it says it's 180 days per year, and then it specifies a date range August 14th through June 4th. So I don't know if we follow if that falls under a whole year, or if it doesn't because it's only 180 days. And I've had some back and forth conversation with someone at CalPERS, but I'm still not fully clear, and we want to know because it's at the beginning of the school year, so we would rather enroll them if we need to instead of find out later during an audit or something that we were supposed to enroll them and didn't.
All right, so I'll start the answer out, but Heather, Ken, I might need you guys to help with this one. So, you know, the obviously if the tutor position is a eligible position, you know, there's a position on the pay schedule and you see how much their earnings and their full-time pay rate is. And remember, full-time pay rate should always be based on 40, regardless of what your schedule is.
Yes, thank you.
But if you are a member already, then yes, then that position is eligible for membership. And in that case, you should again create an appointment for that person and then report as earned as you would for everybody else. I know that schools also do equal payments, which is still acceptable, where you take the amount that they're going to earn for the year and you divide it by the month's work and you report the earnings equally with that full-time 40-hour pay rate. So if they're already a member, then yes, they should. Now, if they're not already a member, then of course they're going to have to meet the membership qualifications of having at least 1,000 hours before they're brought in. Heather, Ken, anything else to expand on that or add to it? Because it does to me sound like fiscal year if it's August through June. And if they are an eligible position, we would want them to report those earnings if it's an eligible position.
It's not the whole fiscal year. It's August 14th through June 4th. So it's not July 1st through
But it
June
still
30th,
falls in
but
a-
it is the school year, which
Yeah.
is less than a calendar year.
Yeah,
that
so
would
I was
be.
I was
Oh, go ahead. No, sorry. So that would be the academic year. So if the employee is working 20 hours and you expect that the position will last months, then they would need to be brought into immediate membership.
Sorry, you kind of cut out. If we expected it to be how many months?
6 months longer for 20 hours or more.
I thought it was 1 year for 20 hours or more, or 6 months for 8 hours or more.
It's
Or
6.
sorry, 8 hours, not 8 hours or more.
It's 20 hours or more, or 6 months or longer.
You were breaking up, Veronica.
It's full-time, longer than 6 months, which is 8 hours, or 20 hours a week or more for 1 year or longer. So the 1 year is the one that I'm questioning.
Heather, I think Veronica might have some audio. Could you chime in if you know the answer?
Yeah, she's better than I am, and that's what first she was probably trying to call in just now because I know she's experiencing audio. That's why I pulled her in because she's the subject matter expert on the membership stuff. I'm not as well versed as I am with the post-retirement yet. Veronica, are you calling in or no? If so, can I circle back to this? We can move on to other questions. Let me just.
And we'll get the answer to you guys in the SEAC. When we send out the Q&A, we'll make sure to add the answer to this one in there as well. All right, we got maybe time for 1 or 2 more questions, and then we're going to wrap up. Any other good questions? Who? Oh, Teresa.
Thank you.
Yep.
In the earlier questions, Erica asked about the SAA being able to delete or deactivate users because they no longer are employed in that district, COE, or they moved, you know, whatever reason. That is I just want to point out, it's a very important item that we need to be able to continue doing without having to call CalPERS and wait, because we're all super busy and
Right.
we don't want to forget those things.
Yeah, no, we got it noted. And that's when we're
Okay.
going to have to talk to our information security team and our IT team to see why we had disabled that. But if it's something that we can enable, we definitely will explore that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then the SPM certifications for the 30-day requirement. I concur with Jose. At times 30 days is just not long enough to get this done because we have a lot of other 30-day requirement reportings, not just your system, others. And it can get very time consuming. We really need a longer period, especially for those that have multiple years and microfilm or paper research to get those reported to you.
Yeah.
So we really need you to look into allowing employers to have a longer period for that report time. Because the answer was, well, after 30 days, they have to request another certification. We had an instance where the member had to request 3 or 4 times in order for us to get this completed, because once they got it all entered, submission of it created problems and took time with CalPERS staff to help us fix those errors.
Yeah.
And
The reason we have it set that way is the calc changes every month because more interest will be added in. And so that's why we try to do that. I know that I've been working with our sister division, MAMD, the member account management division, who they're the ones that process SPM. And this is something that we've been exploring about our service levels and seeing if we can enhance our customer service experience. Because I go out on road shows every year on these things called the ELDs, Employer Leadership Dialogues, and this is a common question, concern that I get. So we're definitely exploring different options with that. I saw Kelly just popped on. Did you want to add anything to that, Kelly?
Brad, I think that's something that we should kind of explore to see what we can do. Maybe like do some sort of like an exception process where if an employer needs to have a longer period of time, that we can figure out how we can make that happen without the member having to resubmit their application. Just making sure that we have like a pretty good like time frame as to when we expect that to be able to get completed, and because we don't want to delay that process.
Yeah. Yeah.
I for one appreciate that for our county. That if you can expand, it'd be great.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, so that's all the time we have for today. Before I turn it over to Bill, I want to say thank you to everybody that showed up today. You asked some great questions, and the questions don't have to stop here. If you ever have any questions going forward, we have all the different mailboxes that we provided in the chat, the work after retirement mailbox, the MOU review mailbox, compensation compliance mailbox. I know that you also have access to a lot of different contacts of people that worked here at CalPERS. We always have the contact center as well, that they do a really great job of answering all those questions. And we also have the training that Vernon talked about today too, which they could also answer your questions through that. So again, even though I feel like this was a great meeting today and it's a lot of great questions, it doesn't have to stop there. Reach out to us anytime you guys have any questions or concerns. We're here to help you, and we want to try to prevent any compliance issues going forward. So having said that, I'm going to wish everybody a calperific afternoon. And I'm going to turn over to Bill to close out for the meeting. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for attending today's SEAC meeting. Second. Okay. We will have the presentation posted to our website. Okay. We'll have the presentation posted to our website within about a week. And I will go ahead and email out the questions and answers for everybody. And if you have any additional questions, go ahead and email the SEAC mailbox. We're more than happy to help. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.